Welcome once again. We are here. You're tuned to SAUMA HD Radio. We are broadcasting from Carlton Center. It is the big day we've all been waiting for. The big discussion, the most important discussion in our society, because we always see the stats. We always read a newspaper and different media reports of abuse, of rape, of sexual assault, and it is actually quite unfortunate that even us as SAUMA HD Radio, we're not only bringing you this discussion as the media, but in February we did lose one of our own due to sexual assault. So we are also broadcasting this as a family that has lost one of its own, and I know many families do share the same sentiments. So today we are partnering with Soul City Institute. If you've just tuned in, you missed out a little bit of our discussion earlier, but nonetheless we still continue. We did touch base earlier with the EFF as well as Rise Mzansi, as they were just briefing us on what exactly do they have in store for the country when it comes to tackling GBVF. Now, Ms. Itumeleng was facilitating the conversation, Itumeleng Litswala, who is the communications officer at Soul City, but now we have the CEO of Soul City Institute, and I am indeed excited because I think she will really unpack the whole campaign to us, to let us know exactly how it came about, when it came about. I know Itumeleng did tell us, but we want now in-depth information from the CEO herself. She is sitting right across me. She is Ms. Fina Odisa. Ma'am, how do you do, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, and greetings to everyone.
Thank you once again for making time to be with us. Right now, I know it's a weekend, we have so many things to be doing, but this is a very, very serious issue, and first of all, I want to commend your organization for taking that step to say, look, let's challenge the political parties, let's make them accountable, that when they get to parliament, can they really represent women and children and men who are abused, who are assaulted, who are disgruntled. For the longest time, GBVF has been something that is really highlighted when it comes to Women's Month, when it comes to 16 days of activism, or if someone is trending in the media because they have been brutally murdered or something has transpired. Every other day, it's usually business as usual. So thank you for taking that step to say, can this be an everyday agenda?
Yeah. So let's just maybe also clarify a few things.
Yes.
You know, to fight GBV, you don't only need to look at politicians.
Of course.
Right? It starts with you in the home. You know, where you raise even how you raise your own children, it's part of prevention.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you teach boys, if you teach girls as they grow, that as human beings we need to respect each other. Start with respect. If I respect you as a human being, you respect me back, then we understand that I cannot just touch you if you don't want to. Right? And therefore we start talking about consent, and I'm taking consent when you say, if I say no, you must respect my
No. Yes.
And the law is very clear and what is protected in the law. And one of the institutional rights that we have as human beings, we don't talk about women, we talk about human beings. That otherwise we are is they have a duty, right, to promote it, to make that right available to me as a citizen of the country, to promote it, to uphold it, and when it's violated, to ensure that they deal with the perpetrator when violated. And I'm putting it in simple language because I want people to see just how simple this issue is. but how complicated it also gets. You know, so for us, we cannot celebrate 30 years where women are still dying. They didn't start dying now. They've been dying. But now we are saying it looks like we are turning a blind eye. Right? We're just spectators looking as these things are happening, especially now in the middle of social media, where somebody can come live on video and say, I stabbed this woman because she cheated on me. And we just like the post because then they get 300,000 views, they get 1 million views because we consume what is given to us on social media without actually saying, if it was my child, if it was me, would I want somebody to do something about it? So we just want to say to politicians, we are here, we know that we also have a role to play as citizens, but you have a bigger role to play. And that's why we want to hold you accountable for that bigger role that you are supposed to play.
I actually like what you said about the education and prevention starting in the home, starting with children. I remember at my son's preschool, they were actually taught about the robot. So on your body, there are colors which are green and there are colors which are red. So certain parts which are red, no one is allowed to touch them except for mommy when they're giving you a bath. So parts like the private parts, they are red. No one should touch you there. So it's actually now making children aware that should someone now violate them, they should know that they should report. All right, thank you so much for highlighting that. And now before I introduce our political party that's here and the representative, I just want us to quickly, you've highlighted the cause, you've highlighted the campaign itself. Please also just tell us more about the idea of casting a feminist vote.
Yeah, so we live in a very patriarchal society. We live in a society that still believes in the oppression and subjugation of women, right? Women, they are seen as last in decision making. They are not considered. And when we try to fight for a society that is equal and equitable, we need to use principles that will consider everybody, and we believe as society that feminism as an ideology offers us better opportunity. And let me just unpick it, because when we say the feminist society, we are not saying it's a society that hates men and loves women more, right? It's a society that says we know the wrongs that have been done to women, and we want to correct the wrongs that have been done to women, so that the women can also afford the opportunity that men have been enjoying all this time. And so when we say we are a vote that understands that women have been the and that they need to be on par with where we are in terms of opportunities, in terms of job opportunities, gender equality, say, instead of equitable laws, promote the rights and duties of women.
I think I should actually thank you for clarifying that, because if I were to hear the term feminist vote, I think it would be misinterpreted. I think it is, well, women, it's a women's world whereby men are left behind. So I thank you so much for clarifying that. All right, and across the desk from me to my right side is the president of the Conservatives in Action. He is Mr. Samuel Kennedy. He is no stranger to, I'm not going to say to the show, but to the station. We had an interview with them last week, and thank you so much for making time for us today. We are on the hashtag Why Vote For You campaign, and we do feel that it is quite important to have your view as well. What is the Conservatives in Action is saying? For us, women, children, and men who are victims of LGBT.
violence, but it's basically abuse.
Yeah.
And abuse comes in many forms. One of them is abuse that is not violent in terms of physicality.
Yeah.
But subtle abuse, which is most common,
Yeah.
is the abuse in the home, in the workplace, in schools, in public places, and it's to do with intimidatory abuse, where people get intimidated or through coercion. 30 years later, 30 years later, T-shirt. Talk about freedom. I took it upon myself early on to look at the Universal Declaration of Rights.
Okay.
Signed from the United Nations, of which South Africa is a contributing member,
All right.
of which South Africa is a permanent member of the United Nations, including the Human Rights Commission. We've done literally facade. You know what a facade is? It looks nice on the outside, and the inside has got very much.
All right.
The South African government has put more emphasis on traditional leadership, and it's not commensurate to the population. Vis-a-vis, if we use the same emphasis, the same resources that we spend, that we articulate, that we pronounce on traditional leadership.
Yeah.
Because traditional leadership by its very nature is patriarchal. And that's the origin of where all this nonsense comes out. I've got 3 daughters, I've got 7 granddaughters. I was reared or raised by a woman because my dad was not around. That's the problem. Because that's part of abuse. Where women are left to head or rear or lead both. Now, somebody did an interview yesterday, I know it was, and I used an example which is factual. 43%, nearly half, of all children in South Africa don't have fathers.
They do, the fathers are just not around. Because for you to have a child,
And I think that's what he means. I think he means absent fathers. They're alive somewhere, walking around, acting single, Yet,
now this is my point. This is my point. Factually, yes. Legitimately, no. Because factually, somebody had to sort of, in order to conceive 2 people, need to coma. It's called coitus. I don't want to use any other word because it becomes too common. We, as a government or a country, have treated sexual offenders, men who don't rear their children, men who don't take responsibility for their children. I mean, I read an article now where it says first-time sexual offenders, 10 years. Second-time sexual offenders, 15 years. But what they're not telling you, that in that system is a parole.
yes, good behavior.
Right? And so a monster can change differently in a different environment. So he goes to prison, and it's not prison as a prison, it's called correctional services. So he goes there, he behaves, he gets his parole, and once an offender, always an offender. And becomes repetitive, the same problem. The law is not got no teeth. And we as a country, I don't want to get into the voting part, because I've always said, I'm quite a handsome guy. People vote for me, that's fine. If they don't vote for me, that's also fine.
You'll still remain handsome.
Because that's democracy. But for me, women, children, the aged, albinism, physically people with physical disabilities, mental disabilities, who are subjected to the harsh challenges of South African society. That's where, and let me just say this to the CEO of Soul City.
Yes.
Government has a desk that is only active on the 25th of November. It's called 16 days of activism. And for me, that's an embarrassment. I want to see more activism 365 days of the year. I want to see a review of the judicial system. That maybe we need to have, we've got commercial courts. Why can't we have courts that only deal with child and women abuse? It's possible. We've got courts for everything else. And the statistics, I read it and you can read it and you probably know it. Globally, 1 in 3 women suffer some form of abuse. Whether sexual, whether physical, whether emotional, howsoever it may be. In South Africa, it's 50%. We've got nothing to celebrate. I mean, the political parties should be, I'm actually embarrassed to be sitting there in the name of a political party because I haven't contributed to the well-being of an ordinary citizen. Now, I mentioned to you the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. All humans are born free. All humans have their rights. I don't want to get into the aspect of don't touch, do touch, or whatever. But all humans are free. We have our own Bill of Rights. That doesn't protect a certain part of the population. And let me just say statistically, over 55% of all South Africans are female.
Right.
Over 55%.
Right.
And half of them suffer sexual, mental, emotional, various forms of abuse.
Yeah.
Similarly, I just did a quick,
Some research, all right? Yeah.
One of the 5 main causes. Because life is not about symptoms, life's about causes. We can talk about the law, and what we should do, and why we should do it, and why we shouldn't do it. Maybe we need to have a dilly jala, no bail for offenders, and whatever the case may be. As a political party, that's where I believe we should be focusing. And this is where the problems are. One, what causes gender-based violence? Number 1, poverty. This is fact.
Yeah.
2, breakdown of services. 3, conflict and war. 4, displacement. 5, stress in the home. Those are the key causes. Those are social ills. And unfortunately, I'm not in opposition to the government. I'll support the government in whatever they do as long as it's right. So I was on live television last week, and I said, I'm not opposition. I'm not opposition. I want to be part of an agenda that does what's good, what's noble, what's right. Now, in those aspects that I just described, one of them is abuse against women and children. That's a fundamental. Why? Because if over 55% of the nation is female, then it needs to be accorded commensurate. You know what commensurate means? It must be given the status based on the level of demographics. Right?
All right.
That if we believe in the principle of Demos Kratos, power to the people, then women should be in the forefront.
Right.
Now, the problem I have, if the woman raises you to be who you are today, why then as soon as you have some power, patriarchally. And I'm not doing it for votes. If you don't vote for me, it's fine. Believe me, I'm not that type. I'm not here to canvass. I'm here to tell you the truth. The truth is that we, as a nation, failed certain, if not nearly 60% of the population of this country. We should be embarrassed. We should be ashamed. We failed them. We can put one or two women ministers, one or two CEOs, like my friend here. It's not enough.
I'm actually happy.
More.
I'm actually happy that we have a woman CEO here. We are always, I'm always excited to see women at the forefront of things, not because I'm a feminist, because I know how hard it is that a woman has to work 2 times or 10 times harder than a man. But that's a topic for another day. Right now, before I hand over to our CEO of Soul City Institute so that she may ask you the questions that she would like to directly ask you. It's as if you were actually here a bit earlier when we were with meeting in one of the parties, because we were talking about the fact that, it's a concern for me that, yes, offenders, they go to prison, but or jail or holding cell and come out due to good behavior. But what is the rehabilitation process mentally to make sure that this person does not become a repeat offender? So it's a bit of I won't say a coincidence, because it is a fact that many of us are aware of. We need rehabilitation. Miss CEO Fina Kodisang, I'm handing over to you.
Thank you, and thank you to my colleague. Before we go deeper, I'm just interested in the conservative in your party. Because for me, something that is conservative, there's some restrictions you hold, some values that might be inclusive. That's my assumption from the word itself, right? And in a society where we want to be inclusive, looking at the rights of everyone, be it the LGBTI community, because they are a huge population that is killed because people believe that they need to be corrected, right? And we see how the queer bodies are violated, and other the statistics that we are talking about. When you say something is conservative, I also, in my understanding, assume that you are saying there are some things that you don't believe in and something that you hold very close to. So just pick for us what that is for your...
Can I say something? Yeah. I have this mental telepathy. So I knew exactly what you were going to say. And it's not new. Okay. Conservatism, ideologically, has nothing to do with exclusion. It's a fallacy, and the fallacy is born about by ignorance. Okay. One of the fundamentals, conservative just means it's a value-based system. Okay. The value-based system is free market as one of them. It's nothing to do with individuals, free markets. 2, it has a correlation or intertwined or synergized with the rights of individuals. The rights of individuals is conservatism. Majoritarianism is not conservatism. That's where the difference is. Now the principle of many versus individual, that's where we differ. That's why one of the only parties who talks about minority rights. Now let me tell you where the misconception is. Everybody believes that this thing called minority rights only relates to race, but it relates to class, it relates to grouping, it relates to social aspects. That's minority. Because between you and me, LGBTQI is not a majority in this country. We're a minority grouping. We represent them.
Right.
Because our fundamental basis, cast in stone, is no discrimination against any person, irrespective of race, color, creed, class, or whatever. It's universal. So that's conservatism, as opposed to patriarchy, majoritarianism, which says whatever the majority says is correct. We say no. We believe in individual rights. I should be able, because the Bill of Rights says it. It says I have the right to express myself because we're all born free. Your choice. Me maybe as a baby, I still as oversight to protect it, irrespective of color, race, creed, or class.
I'm happy we've sorted that one out so that everyone understands that as an individual, there's a party that says, even you as an individual, even if you don't go with the rest, we still want your rights protected and promoted. And that's great to hear. Now, we were talking about gender-based violence, and you mentioned a few things that was gender-based violence, right? And this is poverty as one of the stated reasons. And I know a lot of research has gone into different reasons why we have discovered gender-based violence. So I'm interested to know, because the question we are asking is, you are a political party. You might say you're not interested in politics, but you are a political party.
I never said don't be interested. I just said that
we are not interested in whether we vote for you.
well, I'm saying I don't want people to vote for me on an empty promise. Okay? That's my fundamental. If you believe that I represent you truly, and this is the city, Gishanga Pagat,
Yeah.
then listen for that. Before you to whatever they want to go in. Vote for me if you know I represent you. I will always represent you, whoever you may be. I'm the son of an African woman, so I understand the plight of our people at all levels. I'm a businessman. I own one or two businesses, but my emphasis is still on the protection of all rights.
I was going to now ask, why should I, as a black young in this country, where black young are the face of poverty, not only young women, but women in general, black women, we need to locate where we find ourselves, are the face of poverty, they are the face of many other intersecting issues that come from HIV and AIDS, displacement of human person. So, what is your promise to us as black women that we vote for? These are the things I'm voting against poverty, because I know there's a correlation between your abuse and the poverty and the economic status.
Okay, thanks. We're sitting with a institutional problem, okay? And the institutional problem is a quandary. That's word, quandary. It's a quandary that has been imposed on us by a majority government, whose only interest is in what they perceive to be democracy. Now, the perception of democracy must be inclusive, right? Now, the first challenge we have, and I mentioned one of the causes being poverty. We very well raised it, so I'm going to give you a socio-economic view that I, Samuel H. Kennedy,